was just like ding, 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 ding. Thank you. I saw recording going on. I love this. And what I'm showing you is actually these two guys that came on. I'm going to just cut in the middle of it. I posted this on Team Ignite Boxer, and I'm happy to post the entire recording. And it's my friend's, Wendy Erdman. She's another national marketing director in Juice Plus, but she invited these guys on and they wrote this book about consistency, the consistency connection. And we all want to be more consistent, and we will write goals and we will want to attain the goals. How many people make New Year's resolutions, and we have things that we really, really want, or we want to level up in Juice Plus, or we want to, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. And then some people do and some people don't. Why? How many people are the ones that make the goals and you have all these things you really, really want? And then for some reason, you can't figure out, what the heck? Why don't I do it? Is anybody on that group? I do that. They're going to talk about this whole principle of why we're like that. This is going to be a skill that you're going to learn today that you can use in your business, you can use in your life. It can be anything that you want to move forward on that you've made goals for in the past. And then somehow it didn't happen. And I love it because it's not you. You're going to learn about your brain today. It's really cool. Are you ready? Okay. So like I said, I'm going to cut her meeting and I'm just going to show you part of it for time's sake because it's over an hour. If you want to listen to all the discussion on the back end, or the guy that's sharing is a stand-up comic and he goes on more, it's just more kind of chit chat in the beginning. But if you wanted to go back and watch the whole thing, I will post that for your viewing pleasure. So
I encourage you to watch it all. I did, and it was really good.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about myself in this.
You'll probably want to watch it again. So here we go.
That's just too much. And Pareto, it just, think about this. If he was an American, Willie Parrott, no one's interested in what Willie Parrott has to say. So here's what Willie Parrott, the Pareto, did. He was I don't know if you would say he discovered it, but he was the first person to note what later became very famous as the 80-20 rule. And I've got to believe you're all familiar with the 80-20 rule, whether or not you knew it was Pareto's principle or not. But the 80-20 rule, this is one of the most amazing things I had ever come across. Pareto discovered it when he was researching the distribution of wealth in Italy. And he found that 80% of the wealth was held by 20% of the people. 20% of the people held 80% of the wealth. And then he started looking at this ratio in so many other things. For instance, in real estate, 80% of the real estate sold by 20% of the real estate agents. In virtually every, and you played this out in your copier company, didn't you, Jim? The 80-20 rule.
Absolutely. Yeah, 20% of our sales reps accounted for 80% of our production.
Yep.
20% of our salespeople won 80% of the contest. Absolutely.
Yep. I
wear 20% of my clothes 80% of the time. Does that count?
Yeah, and on one of these events, you talk 20% of the time, and I talk 80% of the time.
Yeah,
so that's perfect.
Well, when you said we're going to have a partnership, and I go 50-50, right? And I remember you saying
80-20. It just makes sense. Who am I to fight Pareto? So, you want to know how ubiquitous this is. I saw a stat the other day that 80% of COVID is spread by 20% of the people. That's how consistent this is. And so the thing that bugged me about this as I started reading more about it, researching it, is I couldn't understand how people could be so unbelievably diverse and different and unique. And yet, regardless of the category and what it was related to, we seem to slip so easily into one of these two categories. That just bugged me, especially in the area of personal performance and reaching our potential. That bothered me. So I said, okay, well, what are the things, why? What are the characteristics that make the 20% become over successful and the 80%, what causes them to struggle? And so what I did was we listed all the characteristics and to try and find this difference. And once you started to take out the characteristics that were in both groups, then you were left with the answer. And so, we looked at intelligence. It's in both groups. 80% of people are in, the 80% has smart people, 20% has smart people. Education, both groups. Training, so like in network marketing, everybody has access to the same training. And even ambition. It's Jim was talking about earlier that George, maybe George just didn't want it bad enough in network marketing. No, I wanted it every bit as bad as Jim, who succeeded. So ambition was present in both groups. So when we finally eliminated all the things that were in common, it got down to this, and that is this: the 20% high achievers tend to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done with relentless consistency. The 80% know what needs to be done, but they don't do it, and they don't do it consistently. And that is the deciding factor. And I do want to, before we go on, I just want to say this, because this is really important. We're going to talk a lot about 80-20 tonight. And as we go along, if you start to think to yourself, man, I think I may be in that 80%. Understand this. We are not talking down to you. We're not suggesting you are less than. You ain't broken. There is nothing wrong with you. We're going to make a really, really, really strong case that the difference between the 80 and 20 is not a matter of willpower or say being in the 80% is some sort of character. No, it's not. We're going to make the case with actual science that we are simply wired differently, and there's no shame in that. Our path to success is just going to maybe a little bit. My path to success would be a little bit different than Jim's. That doesn't make either one of us right or wrong. It just makes it what is right for us. So don't feel like we're ever talking down to you, because first of all, I am you. I understand the frustration and the shame that I would put on myself when I was unable to keep promises that I made, and I didn't understand it.
And I think the other thing to realize, George, is that although someone might be 20%er in a lot of different areas, they can also be an 80%er. And this is what really intrigued me about the research that we've done. Because I always question, I said, how can I be successful within relationships or with spiritually or financially or career-wise, and yet struggle in an area of physical goals. And for years and years and years, I applied the same principles that I applied to be successful in these other areas, and found out they didn't work in this area. And that was so frustrating to me until now we know why that happened. So.
Right, and the same frustration you felt with why does this succeed so well in every other part of my life and fail here? That's the same frustration that leaders tend to have when they look, well, here's what I did. This is what works. Why doesn't it work for that person?
Yeah, why don't you just follow what I've done, George? I mean, I've laid it out to you in 8 easy steps on a daily basis.
Right. So, the classic, and there are very few pure 80%ers, very few pure 20%ers. The example we always use is Oprah. I mean, as a businesswoman, Oprah, my God, she's the 20% and some, but she's when it comes to her health and managing her weight and her fitness, she's an 80%er. And you think of all the advantages Oprah would have in battling that out. I mean, she can have personal chefs and private trainers. She can hire somebody, a $1,000 a day just to follow her around and slap food out of her mouth. And still, this is a struggle. So that's how real this 80-20 thing is. So we're kind of dealing with this in three areas. So what is the problem? Problem is the 80-20 thing, and that exists. And so why does it exist? So that takes us to the second the second little graphic here. This is my favorite graphic because it completely sums up what we're going to talk about: marshmallows and monsters. So let me tell you about this guy. This is Walter Mischel. He was a researcher at Stanford in the late 1960s, early 1970s. And he did a study that famously became known as the Marshmallow Test. Now, what he did is he gathered up 300 5-year-olds. And first of all, I can't even imagine anybody corralling 300. I've got a granddaughter who's 7 years old, which is amazing because I have no children. And if I babysit her for half a day, I have to be hospitalized. So the thought of bringing together and trying to tame 300 5-year-olds is beyond the pale. But anyway, he did that. So here was how the test worked. A researcher would take the kid into a room, set them down at a table. Across from him on the table, he would set a marshmallow. And he would tell the child, here's the deal. That marshmallow is yours to eat. However, I'm going to leave. When I come back, if that marshmallow is still there, I'm going to give you a second marshmallow. Now, here's our first question. How many kids do you think ate the marshmallow, percentage-wise? How many kids?
I'm guessing 80%.
80%. It's always 80-20. Anytime I ask this question, you're going to be safe guessing 80-20. 80% of the kids ate the marshmallow, 20% did. So let me ask you, so let me introduce you to a little guy. I like to think of this little guy as little Jim, little 5-year-old Jim. The resemblance is uncanny, especially when you consider I just went to stock photos. So Jim, let me ask you this. You're 5, you're in this experiment. What do you do?
Well, George, anytime I can get 100% return on my investment, I wouldn't have eaten the marshmallows. I still have the 2 marshmallows.
No, I guarantee you, Jim's got every marshmallow he's ever earned. This, by the way, I want to introduce you to this little guy. This is a little guy I like to think of as little George. Now, I will tell you, little George would have eaten the marshmallow before the researcher got done explaining the experiment. In fact, here's what is funny, because before the call tonight, Jim says, be sure and have your marshmallow, because at this point, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a marshmallow in my mouth to show how much I like to eat them. And I told Jim, I said, I can't do that tonight because I got the marshmallows earlier in the day and they're all gone. I ate the marshmallow. So this was a fun little experiment. It was the experiment in percentage of kids that can delay gratification, experiencing kids that are driven by instant gratification. It was cute. In fact, as you can go on the internet, Google Marshmallow Test, you can watch kids struggle with this. It's hysterical. But what made it significant was they realized they knew all these kids and they could track them down. And they thought, well, what if we came back? It's like 12 years later. What if we tracked these kids down and see if there was any difference in life experience between the kids that ate the marshmallow and the kids that didn't eat the marshmallow? Here's what they found out. Latter teenage years, what they found is that the kids that did not eat the marshmallow had higher GPAs, higher SAT scores, and were judged to be more socially advanced. They follow up again. Remember, this was in the late 1960s, early 1970s. We've got a tremendous amount of time that we're working with here. Midlife, they found that the 20% that didn't eat the marshmallow had higher educational attainment, more professional advancement, a lower divorce rate, better health according to body mass index, and they earned more money. Finally, we hit 2011. And it's funny because I've heard speakers speak about the marshmallow experiment a ton, and no one ever talks about this. And this, to me, is the key to the whole thing. This is the explanation of why this is. So 2011, they bring the test subjects back one more time, and they put them in a functional MRI. And a researcher can look at the activity level in one of two areas of the brain and tell you with 100% certainty whether or not that test subject did or did not eat the marshmallow 50 years prior.
That's just scary, really.
That's the marshmallow and the monster right there. Because what that means is by age 5 and probably before, we are hardwired. 80% of us are hardwired for instant gratification. And for our purposes, instant gratification and inconsistency are one and the same. They're absolutely the same mechanism. 20% of us wired to delay gratification, and because of that, they have the ability to be consistent. So here's the two areas of the brain: the prefrontal cortex and the ventral striatum. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that it's the executive functioning part of the brain. It's the part of the brain that can look at an activity in the moment and project what the likely outcome of that activity is going to be, and make decisions based on that.
This is where I think.
This is where Jim is. Jim makes his decisions out of the prefrontal cortex.
If there's a contest going on, they announce a contest, I look at it and go, what do I have to do to win this contest? If that requires picking up that phone, I'm going to pick up the phone immediately because I know it gets me closer to my goal. I'm not even going to think about it.
Right. It's just, it makes sense. It makes complete sense to you. That's the prefrontal cortex. The other
That's not where you
brain,
think, though.
Do what?
That's not where you think.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No, I'm back here in the ventral striatum. I'm with the 80%. So here's the interesting thing. It's almost like these two parts of the brain speak different languages. So the way my brain thinks, where I make my decisions in the ventral striatum, it's a much more primal part of the brain. It was developed much earlier than the prefrontal cortex. And the decision-making apparatus operates completely differently. Instead of thinking, okay, well, if I do this now, this is what it's going to mean later. No. It makes decisions on 3 criteria. We call it the ESP filter. Is it easy? Is it safe? Is it pleasurable? Now, understand this was a great mechanism to keep us alive for millions of years. I mean, you think back to caveman days, and is it easy? That's really important, because if you spend more money gathering food than the food gives back to you, you're not going to be able to have ancestors. Safe, super important. It's obviously important. If you're the guy in the tribe that goes, hey, a woolly mammoth, I wonder if you'll let me pet him, you're destined not to have kids. And finally, pleasurable. Pleasurable goes directly to procreation of the species. It's super important. So that really worked out well for us for a few million years. However, when you bring it into today's situation, it's not very helpful. So for instance, Jim and I are in the same network marketing company. They are offering the same trip to Maui. Jim looks at that trip to Maui, makes a decision, he picks up the phone and calls. I'm here too. I'm in the same company. I want the same thing. Who doesn't want to go to Maui? I absolutely want that. So I'm in the position, I know I need to pick up the phone. I need to reach out to somebody. I need to talk to somebody. I look at the phone, and let me layer on another level here, because this is going to impact a lot of people. I'm an introvert. And I know nobody ever understands how you can do what I do and be an introvert, but trust me, very possible. And more performers and speakers and comics are introverts than you can ever imagine. So I'm an introvert. So I'm looking at the phone. You understand this. I want to go to Maui. And I'm looking up the phone and I'm going, is it easy? Not for me. It isn't easy. It's tough picking up the phone. Is it safe? No. People could say no. People could reject me. That hurts. It's not safe. No. Is it pleasurable? No. So Jim and I can be looking at exactly the same activity with exactly the same desires, with exactly the same ambition, and make completely different decisions. Now I will tell you this, I'm not going to say that I'm never going to pick up the phone, because come on, I want to be successful in Juice Plus. I'm going to pick up the phone. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to pick up the phone, just not today. See, because I know Monday is a terrible day to call people. I mean, my God, Monday is the toughest day of the week. You can't call people on Monday. That's crazy. Don't call people on Monday. Tuesday, you can't call people on Tuesday because people are just getting over Monday. My God, no, you can't call on Tuesday. Wednesday, what they call Wednesday, they call it hump day for a reason. Thursday, you can't call people on Thursday because they're trying to get all their work done so they can leave early on Friday. People call people on Friday because they're leaving on Friday. They're trying to get out early. Saturday, you can't call people on Saturday because, my God, this is family day. You don't want to interrupt people during the family. So you can't call people on Sunday. Sunday, people go to church in the morning. They watch football in the afternoon. Big family day. You can't call people on Saturday. And now we're back to Monday. I will never say no to myself. I would just push my future a little bit further away from me every single day. Until finally, what happens is at some point in time, my dream of building a Juice Plus vision, Juice Plus business, is just not relevant to me anymore. I pushed it away so often and so long that it no longer resonates with me. And what happens at that point? Jim, what happens at that point?
Well, you look around the room and go, whatever happened to George? He had all the potential in the world. I like that guy. Anybody seen George?
Yeah. And George is gone.
Yeah. Some will, some won't. So what next, right? That old stupid philosophy.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, we see that. Every network marketing thing I've been associated with, you watch the people come and you watch the people go, and they're good, sharp people that somebody spent a lot of time bringing into this business, and we just kind of watch them fade away. And it's just now. Let me. I should tell you this, because if we left it here, good night, everybody. This would be officially the worst call ever. There could be nothing worse than this. So we would define the problem, and we tell you why we have this problem. We're going to give you a solution. I promise you. It seems really bleak right now, but it's going to get better. So if this is the problem, you know, this whole wiring thing, basically we have three options. Here's the first one I investigated. I'm going to learn how to delay gratification. If that's the key, I'm going to learn it. And so I did this. I'm like, okay, delayed gratification's it. That's what I've been missing all these years. So I got on Amazon and I bought 6 books on how to delay gratification, how to learn to delay gratification. And there was nothing in them that resonated with me as anything I could possibly do. And the tip off, the thing that I should have known that this wasn't going to work, was I bought the books on Kindle. Now, why did I buy the books on Kindle? I bought the books on how to delay gratification. I bought them on Kindle because I wanted them instantly. Wow. Who could have foreseen this wasn't going to work out? So that's option 1. Option 2, this is the one most popular in network marketing.
Just quit. Just quit. Some will, some won't. Some won't. So what next? That philosophy we just talked about.
Yep. I'm just going to become part of that great amorphous cloud of people that used to be in something. And that's what most people choose. Here's what we're going to suggest you choose. And that's 3. And that's this. Given the fact that I am wired the way I am, what if I decided I was no longer going to just try and defy my essential nature? What if I could employ a strategy whereby I could take my insatiable desire for instant gratification and put it in service of achieving long-term goals? Think about that for a second. What if I can just let my normal way of thinking and deciding actually work for me? And that's what we're talking about, which brings us to the third data point and the reason and how we're going to beat this thing. This is Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld, he and I have a lot in common other than all the money and all that stuff. Very similar. So Seinfeld, I saw an interview with him. It was in August of 2016. It was an interview online. And he said, someone was asking him, and he was telling the story. He said the kid came up to him, young comic, came up to him and said, Mr. Seinfeld, very respectful. That's how you knew he's a young comic. Older comics, we would have never done that. He said, Mr. Seinfeld, how do I become Jerry Seinfeld? And Seinfeld just kind of laughed. He said, well, first of all, my goal was never to become Jerry Seinfeld. My goal was never for the limos and Lear jets and the 50 Porsches and the place in the mansion on Long Island. That wasn't the goal. He said, my goal, when I started out, was very simple. He said, my goal was to become a better comic. Now, we're going to hit this hard in a second because better is huge. It is really the leverage that we're going to use to be able to turn instant gratification into fuel for long-term success. He said, my goal was to become a better comic. And the way I did that was I identified one high leverage activity. And a high leverage activity is an activity that if you did it every single day, it's going to push you down the road in the direction you want to go farther and faster than anything else. So as a comic, his high leverage activity was, he said, I'm going to write jokes every day. And so first day, he wrote jokes. He got a calendar. On the calendar, he put an X. Second day, he wrote jokes. Second day on the calendar, he put an X. Now, the genius of Jerry Seinfeld is that he did not see two X's on a calendar. What he saw was a chain of two links. Day three, and understand this, it never gets any harder than this right here. Day three, he had one simple goal, a simple goal that you can get past the ESP filter. It's easy, it's simple, it's pleasurable. One goal, and that goal was,
don't break the chain.
Don't break the chain. Don't break the chain. The reason why Jerry Seinfeld got $800 million when he sold the syndication rights to his sitcom was because of this. All that money, all the fame and success that he has enjoyed is nothing more than the compound interest on that consistency, because he just lived day three over and over and over again. He would get up in the morning, he had one simple goal: don't break the chain. So let's talk for a second. I want to talk for a second, clarify this ER directions, because his goal of being a better comic, by the way, flies in the face of all the goal setting we've ever been taught. It's not specific, it doesn't have a time base, there's no money attached to it, there's nothing. And that's okay, because you know why? Because most of us that are in the 80%, that goal setting stuff that we've tried has not worked for us. I know on a personal level, it never worked for me, which makes complete sense when you understand this now. A goal is nothing more than a distant, far off thing, both in time and effort. It's this thing off in the distance that I'm going to have to wait to get. A goal is nothing more for us than the embodiment of delayed gratification. And what have we established that I suck at? Delayed gratification. So it's like, how many times am I going to bang my head against this wall? And I had a guy, a really high-ranking distributor in a company that I was with, and he should have been spending no time with me, but he thought it was going to be good. He was so wrong. And he sat down with me and he outlined what SMART goals were. Man, I was taking notes, brother. SMART goals. I thought, this is it. This is the thing that's going to change it with SMART. SMART, specific, measurable, assignable, R, never can remember, T, time-based. And man, I was like, yes. This is going to do it, man. I remember one of the SMART goals. I said, I, George Campbell, specific and assignable. I will weigh 175 pounds. Specific, measurable. January 1, time-based. Man, that was a great SMART goal. That was awesome. Then I got to be January 1. First of all, never set anything that ends on January 1. Because there's a very good chance you've been to a party the night before and you're probably in no shape to be evaluating how well you've done. But that's what I did. January 1, 175 pounds. I get on the scale with my little bleary eyes, look down my little bleary toes, and I get on the scale, and the scale, sure enough, 175. Boom! Now, if it had stopped there, that would have been a success story. But instead, it goes up to 205, and it's just another goal. It's another thing I failed at. You're just like, dang it, why didn't this work for me? Contrast that with directions. So here's how we make this work. When I saw the Seinfeld article, it took me a month because I'm who I am. I'm 80%. It took me a month to decide, I'm going to try this. What's one more thing to fail at? So I just said, okay, well, I'm going to pick something that I've never been consistent at. And that is working out. And I said, okay, I'm going to work out 45 minutes a day every day. And the key is this. I didn't say I'm going to weigh 175 pounds. But no. I said, here's what I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to be fitter. What this allowed me to do was I could get up in the morning. I could go to the gym. I could come back from the gym. I could look myself in the mirror, and with complete integrity, I could look at myself and go, you know what, dude? You're strong. You're healthier. You're fitter. And at that point, I allowed my insatiable desire for instant gratification to be satisfied. It felt good. I won. I won the day. I hit my goal. And it was awesome. Now understand, you could have two people. You could have Jim doing the same thing. And if traditional goals work for him, he could have that certain weight on a certain date. He could have that goal and he might be able to hit it. I'm doing the same exact process. My mind is just shifted so that I can win every day. And because of that, I show up every single day.
You show up and you feel good about yourself every day, George, right?
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, you obviously can do this from a business standpoint in your network marketing business. I'm a better recruiter. I'm a better inviter. I'm a better leader. I'm a better listener, whatever that might be.
Yep.
You feel good about yourself every single day. And the one thing that I noticed, George, when Seinfeld was doing it, he just wrote jokes every single day, right? He was a better comic every single day. Wasn't really worried about the material that he was writing as much as just writing it.
Yeah, he's in the process.
Right.
He's in the process of taking him in the direction that he wants to go. I mean,
nothing is more motivational than seeing progress every single day.
Right. And the other thing is in network marketing, that when you begin, it's a long time. It seems like forever before you see the external rewards of what you're doing. And so when it's like you keep looking up and you're like, I'm not sure I'm any further down the road. But with this, what we're doing is we're setting up a different way to measure ourselves. And you can literally, when I did it, I had calendars and I could see every single day, every single time I marked it off. And I'm like, I don't know what my weight's doing. I don't really care. What I do know is I am there. I am in the game. I am playing hard. And the reason, and that was the reason why I put together my first chain was 531 straight workout days. and if you had asked me, or if you told me, George, your goal is going to be 531 straight days, I would have laughed at you. That's ridiculous. I've never done anything that consistently in my entire life. But because I wasn't trying to do that, I was just trying to win today. That's all I ever did. There was no pressure. People would ask me, I had people ask me, are you going to work out tomorrow? And I'm like, no, I'm not working out tomorrow. Just working out today. In the entire 531 straight days, I never worked out tomorrow. You can't work out tomorrow. You can't build your business tomorrow. You can only build your business today. And think about that just for a second. Think about what your Juice Plus business would look like if you showed up in a high leverage activity every day for 531 straight days. Imagine what the transformation in your business would be. And you're just showing up today. There's no pressure. I'm just showing up. I do what I've said I was going to do, and I feel really, really good about it. So, go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just going to say, you're not going to allow external measures to factor in reaching a certain level or rank. You just want to do that activity every.
We're all like, where's
We
Susie?
must have lost Susie.
Where's Susie in? I don't see Susie.
So how many people can relate to the 20%? Raise your hand if you could relate to the 20%. Okay, so let's see. We've got, I'm going to count here. We've got, no, you can't, Strander. Okay, so I'm going to count here. We've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so I just want to see if we're like 80-20 on here. So if you are part of the 20%ers, raise your hand. Yep, Dar, 1, Lisa, 2, Carol, 3, okay, 4. All right, so we've got 4 of you. Do I have anybody else that I'm missing? 4, okay. And then the
So
rest of you,
explain to me what you're asking. 20, what are the 20?
you're part of the 20% that you're not about, you're not the one that needs the instant gratification, that you would have been the one that would have been able to hold off on eating that marshmallow.
But I'm looking at more with the business or with
Yeah, we're
goal.
just, it's all the
Okay,
same.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so let's put it this way. If you're the kind of person that would have eaten that or would have waited to get the second marshmallow. Okay. And that's how you are in your business, that you're not about the instant gratification. You're more of that 20% category. Okay.
I just have to comment.
Yeah.
I'm the overthinker because as soon as he said it, I was like, well, how long are you going to be gone? Are you leaving the room for 2 minutes? Are you going to be gone for 30 minutes? And then I'm like, but I'm almost 50 and I don't like marshmallows, nor would I eat a marshmallow. So I don't really want 1 or 2. So forget the whole thing. That's where I was.
Okay. Okay. That's funny, Jen. That's funny. What have you been like that as a 5-year-old?
I probably would have eaten the marshmallow. My mom,
Okay.
my mom didn't buy sugary stuff. So I'd have been like, give me that marshmallow now.
Okay. All right. So you can relate to the 20%. Raise your hand. I'm sorry. Let's do this one more time. Wanda, Dar, Lisa, Judy, Carol, and Wanda's sister. I can't think of your name. I am so sorry. There's 6. And then, okay, so 6 out of
Angel.
Angel, thank you. Okay, out of 1, 2, 3, 15, 16, 17, 18 of us. Okay, 80%ers. Raise your hands. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 so far that I can see. Okay. So I'm just going to open it up. Just go ahead and share something that was like an aha for you. And I'm going to see if I can find out where Susie's at. I lost my phone.
All I wanted to say is when I was 5 years old, it was a while ago, so I don't remember.
As a 5-year-old, I would have sat and waited for another marshmallow, but yet I feel like I'm that person that is both, because now today I'm also that person who has a hard time of looking at the phone and calling. So I don't know how I'm categorized. So I could have raised
Do you have a hard time picking up that phone, Judy, not because of the lack of instant gratification, but because of not because of the instant gratification, but because of fears of what there's fears inside of you?
right.
Yeah.
That's more, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, Judy. I'm the same way. I feel like I'm on the fence. I'm kind of right in between both of them.
When he was talking about I can't call on Monday because Monday is the worst day. Oh my God. I was like, yes, that is totally me. I'm totally analyzing this, trying to figure this out. I completely resonated with that.
Well, and
Hey,
I have,
can you all hear me?
yeah, we can.
Am I back?
Yeah.
I think my computer's dead. I had 73% charge and now I can't get it to turn on or anything. So I'm on Ron's laptop. But anyway.
Jennifer was just talking, Susie.
Well, I'll admit that I struggled with consistently listening because apparently the most important thing was what they found when they put the person in the MRI, and I missed it. Is it that their frontal lobes were more developed? Or what did
They said that they could identify how many years later, like 50 years later, that they could identify which marshmallow you would have eaten based on. I guess I didn't pay close enough attention to that part of it.
Okay.
I guess we'd have to go back. To me, I took from that they could identify how the person was thinking. Like, do they process more in that frontal lobe or do they process more in the back lobe?
Okay.
And so through their processing, if it was all frontal lobe, they knew that the person did not eat the marshmallow.
Yeah.
So I have pulled this back up. Do you guys want to, should we go ahead and finish, or we can have some conversation in the middle? I'm totally open to it.
We've
Keep
just
going.
been chatting about what we got out of it. So yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate you guys hanging in there. Sorry about that. Say a little prayer for my laptop. My life is on my laptop.
Oh, you'll be able to fix it. No worries.
Okay, let me go back and pull this up. It might not be exactly where we were because I had to totally pull it up, and I just tried to move it towards this ER directions is the last thing I saw before my computer shut down. Does that sound good?
Close.
Okay.
131 straight days. I would have laughed at you. That's ridiculous. I've never done anything that consistently in my entire life. But because I wasn't trying to do that, I was just trying to win today. That's all I ever did. There was no pressure. People would ask me, I had people ask me, are you going to work out tomorrow? And I'm like, no, I'm not working out tomorrow. I'm just working out today. In the entire 531 straight days, I never worked out tomorrow. You can't work out tomorrow. You can't build your business tomorrow. You can only build your business today. And think about that just for a second. Think about what your Juice Plus business would look like if you showed up in a high leverage activity every day for 531 straight days. Imagine what the transformation in your business would be. And you're just showing up today. There's no pressure. I'm just showing up. I do what I've said I was going to do, and I feel really, really good about it. So, go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just going to say, you're not going to allow external measures to factor in reaching a certain level or rank. You just want to do that activity every single day so you feel good about it you do that activity every single day, the rewards will count.
Yeah, they'll take care of themselves. So here's the process we want to go through as we do this. We're going to decide on the area that we want to master. There's only about 5 or 6. There's health, there's career, finance, relationships, spiritual. There's only so many that you really have to master. The fact that you're on this call makes me think you're probably interested in building the Juice Plus business. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. We're going to decide on the area we're going to focus on, because we're only going to build one chain. That's the other key. We're just building one chain as we start this out. Second, we're going to define our ER direction. And Jim spoke about, I'm going to be a better listener. I'm going to be a better recruiter. I'm going to be a better speaker. I'm going to be a better prospector. And as long as you engage in those activities that are like that, your skill level improves. So you are, when you step out of your comfort zone and you say something to somebody else and it starts a conversation, guess what? You're a better prospector. You're a little bit more skillful. You're a little bit more confident. You're better. On here we talk better listener, better presenter, prospector, sponsor. And then finally, we're going to define define a high leverage, or declare a high leverage activity.
Watch this now.
And so we have, and this is an activity that if you engage in it every day, it's going to take you where you want to go. So here's a suggestion. This is just a suggested activity that Jim and I have kind of landed on. And Jim, you want to talk about 21?
Yeah, we talked about 21, and when George and I originally started in this business, you got to remember, George was on stage for 10 years as a stand-up comic, 20 plus years as a speaker. And when we were starting this business, I said, well, surely, George, you can talk to one person a day about our business. And I remember him kind of looking at me like a deer in the headlight look and going, I'm not sure I can speak to one person a day. I go, well, you can at least reach out to a couple people. And he said, yeah, if I don't have to speak to them or talk to them. And that's when it dawns on you, the difference between an 80%er and a 20%er. So we picked an area of 21, reaching out to 2 people a day or talking to one. And when we say reaching out to 2 people, reaching out could be simply as you're on Facebook and you reach out to somebody you haven't talked to for a while and just say, I'm sure there's a lot of exciting things going on in your life right now as mine. Hey, let's schedule a time to talk and get caught up. I mean, that's a reach out to us. It could be on LinkedIn, it can be on Facebook, it can be an email, whatever it might be, a text, I don't care. Keep in mind one thing. I mean, the ultimate goal is to talk to somebody about your product or service, but keep in mind one thing, and that is whatever that activity is, and you can start out very simple, very small. So small, that it's almost ridiculous. Remember, we're just trying to get you into action. And the activity is not as important as the consistency of the activity. You need to show up first before we can increase the activity.
Right. So in 21, basically, you're either filling the pipeline or you're building your business. And filling the pipeline, eventually, I mean, if you reach out to enough people, doggone it, if they don't call you back, you're going to have to talk to somebody.
Yeah,
So,
and when you're talking to that 20%er, they're going to look at it and say, talk to one person. I can do that before I get out of bed, And keep in mind, we're talking to the 80%er. In fact, in network marketing, probably closer to 95.5. So you're talking to 95% of the people, just getting them on a daily activity that's high leverage enough that'll get them closer to their goal in the long run.
right. We're always trying to find that balance, a high enough leverage activity that is going to make you progress, but it's going to be also a place where it's going to pass the ESP filter. If reaching out to 2 people, well, that's easy. And it's safe. I mean, I'm just sending a text or a message or whatever. It's safe. It's pleasurable because I did what I said I was going to do. So it passes that filter. Here's the one thing that we suggest. And I know we're in different time zones, but the people that struggle with this, they struggle because they don't start. And so we're going to say, act now. And tonight, you can always change what your activity is going to be, but just for tonight, make it 21. Just for tonight, reach out to 2 people. When you get off this call, it'll take you maybe 5 minutes to go through your telephone or go through your Facebook list or your LinkedIn list. Reach out to 2 people. Start it tonight. Start the first chain tonight. Take action tonight. we found that 80% of the people that don't take action tonight don't show up tomorrow. So don't let that be you. Take action tonight. Step into this. He was nice enough to mention that we do have a book available at Amazon. And then we have another thing that we just rolled out that we're going to do a very special deal for. This is the first time we've ever done this, so this will be fun. We actually started to case study this almost 2 years ago now. And what we did is we formed these little groups. We called them chain gangs. And there were support and accountability groups. And the reason why we did it is we just wanted to be able to have a way to track the metrics so that we could show that people really could change through this. But what happened was the support and accountability of these 4 to 5 people groups was so strong that what we saw was people who had been at an activity level of 5 to 10%. That is, they were engaged in business building activities maybe once a month. What we saw is they jumped from 5 to 10% to a consistent 82, 83% through just strictly the support and encouragement of the people with them. And so we combined with a tech company, and we have what's called the chaingangapp.com. And it's not in the App Store. You go to the chaingangapp.com, but when you do, go to jp.thechaingangapp.com, Juice Plus, jp.thechaingangapp.com. And so here's what we're going to do for you guys on the call.
You don't go to the App Store, you go to your browser.
You go to the
Safari or Chrome or whatever it might be.
Right. And you write down this promo code. And I think it's all caps and there's no spaces. CC welcome, consistency chain welcome. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you a 30-day free trial of this app. You won't be charged anything for 30 days. So if before the end of, what would this be? Sometime after the first of the year, the first week after the first year, if it's not working for you, we'll shake hands and part as friends.
Hey, ladies, are we all ladies today? I'm going to stop it right there because I noticed Jake and I both didn't find that link to work. So I'll find out if that was only for Wendy Erdman's group or if they're, still have a link on that. But the other cool thing is even through Voxer, we've noticed when we put people in groups that want to move forward, we've never had this kind of training though. It was always like in a group because you wanted to get to the next position instead of just make that chain, just doing what you can do today. Not worrying about tomorrow, but just doing what you said you were going to do today, that one thing. I like their 21 where they said reach out to 2 people a day or at least talk to one, like a real conversation. So I just want to throw this out here because I just learned about this recently myself. So I'll be honest that I haven't thought through everything on this right now, but I'm really open to ideas, and oftentimes we have much better ideas anyway coming from the field. But I think it would be really exciting. I mean, we could print out a calendar and just to see those chains, when you put all those X's together and looking at those chains of activities. So I'm just going to open the floor. Let me know, is that something that interests any of you that you'd like, heck yeah, I want to be in a group of 4 or 5 people and I want to start making a chain. I'm just going to leave the floor open. What are thoughts on that?
I agree. I think anytime you're accountable to somebody else, it helps you out and it helps them out. So I think it'd be fantastic.
And I do encourage everybody to go back. Like I said, I'll post this whole training as they continue on. Once Wendy Erdman takes over her meeting again, they'll go on there and they give even some verbiage like, okay, what would I say? Sometimes we get stuck on that, just thinking, okay, what am I going to say when I reach out? And so they give some additional verbiage. And that's something we would be able to do as a team too, that everybody wanting to be part of a chain gang. chain gang. That kind of has a negative to me. I might have to come up with something else. But anyway, other thoughts on this? Was this helpful? Did it resonate with any of you? See, Lisa's a yes.
I had
It's
a
like-
massive aha moment throughout it all because I really relate to the 80%, and I didn't realize that my brain worked like that. So when I realized that that's how I worked, I was like, oh my gosh, this could be so much easier, because I set goals all the time and then I find that I fall off. But if I were just to say, I'm gonna get, and it's like it flies completely in the face of everything that we've ever learned. Because in this training, he goes on to talk about the SMART goals, how they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're I can't remember what the R stands for.
He couldn't either. He
Yeah,
said
I can't think what the R, and then the anyway, but this totally flies totally in the face of all that training that we've ever received. But there's also the training that talks about becoming like 1% or 3% better every day. Just becoming a better version of yourself every day. So if we just become 1% better than we were yesterday at something, I mean, to me, I can do that. I can absolutely do that. That's absolutely attainable. And I like the idea of seeing what I've done and not wanting to break that chain, to see that consistency. It's kind of like when you're qualified and you look on the far right side of your downline growth report and you see that qualifier number, you know, and you just see it climbing and climbing and climbing, and then you're like, sometimes if we're not building our business, our numbers can start to slide and we're no longer going to be qualified anymore. Because if we're not building then we're not growing. And if we're not growing, our numbers will decline gradually. And then all of a sudden we're maybe not going to qualify. And you're like, oh my God, I've just been qualified for 100 months. I don't want to start all back over at one again, right? So then you work hard to get going again. So I don't know. I kind of link it or think of it in that term too.
You know, that when they were talking about, instead of saying, I want to lose 100 pounds or, 50 pounds or whatever, instead of thinking of it that way, this was my aha moment. I'm just going to do this, this, and this each day and really not pay attention to that number. But the byproduct of doing this, this, and this is going to get me to that number. And it's like, okay, yeah, that makes a huge difference in my mind.
Mhm.
And I think we have to be careful not to do too much. That's why he says, start with one chain. And that could be something. We're going to have a call this Thursday. I hope y'all can hop on it. It's going to be great. And it's going to be not our normal Health Made Simple call. We're going to bring into it the Shred 10. But sometimes for people, Shred 10, that's just too many things for people to start with. But if they could at least pick one on that list that they're not doing, and they create a chain of that for 10 days, then to me, we would be able to say, okay, now the next 10 days do that, but add one more of these and just make it, because now that I see, because I don't want anybody to join any of those kind of programs and then feel like, oh, I suck. I only lasted 1.5 days. So I think but it's too many changes for some people. So I think we could do this and really help ourselves and help others in a big way of breaking things down. And what I like too is that they're looking at people's brains. You don't have the choice to decide, are you the front brain thinker or are you the back brain thinker? To me, they didn't give any data saying, hey, if you want to be in the 20%, then you do this and all of a sudden your thinking changes. I feel like they're just saying, no, you just have to focus on what you can do today and stop worrying about the rest and find your success every day. Get that instant gratification. I did it. And that's how you change those pathways.
It doesn't matter how you get there.
Yeah,
It's just, it's important that you get there.
yeah,
And so if you've got, I mean, everybody thinks differently in one form or another, and this proves it. So it's just like Dean Graciosi in one of our trainings, he talked about, we oftentimes will try to improve an area that we're not as good at. Well, why don't we just work on the things that we're really good at, and then figure out something else for the ways that we're not so good, for the things that we're not so good. And so I kind of feel like this is right along those same lines. I'm not so good at goal setting, but I could do it this way. This way I could work with my brain to make it work.
so what's your, and I'll give you time to think about it, and I'm actually going to get with a few other NMDs that have just gone listen to this themselves, and we'll find out, what are people doing. But and maybe you're fine just having your own calendar, doing your own thing, but they say that can be such a game changer. What did he say? That most people who were performing at like 5 to 10%, that they went up like upwards to 82% production by being put in a small group of 4 to 5 people who all were aligned with this idea of making one chain and doing that chain just every day. Just what did he say? Just try to win today. You can't build your business tomorrow. You can only build it today. And isn't that true? We're not even promised tomorrow. We only have right now. So
if we do decide to do groups, what if, because there are 20% thinkers and the whole chain thing might drive them crazy. What if we put those people in groups for themselves, where they're actual goal setters?
yeah,
Because you got like thinkers together. Does that make sense? Did we just lose Susie? Oh no, there she is.
There's some of us that we crossed the 2080.
yeah, I agree. I crossed 2080 myself.
Mhm.
On a lot
Depends
of
where I am in life.
yeah. I think the thing will be just that the people in that group are committed. And so if you decide, we don't have to decide it right now, but I would just say, if you decide, yes, you want to be in a group, you're just committing to doing one thing a day. And it's like they said, no outside forces, no matter what happens in your day, you will have time to be a success in that one thing, especially if your one thing is what they suggested, reaching out to 2 people a day or actually talking to 1 person a day. That is a high leverage activity in our business. So it's late, it's 12:11, and I really try to end at the top of the hour. Let me get with a few other people that are doing this, so we don't have to recreate the wheel of somebody that already has this happening successfully on their team, which I'm sure they do. And but I hope you think about this, and I hope you give yourself some grace and don't live in the past of, oh, I didn't do this, or I didn't. To me now, I know why I don't do things. I just need to focus on today. And I just need to win today. So let's go out and win today. Also, he did say that you do need to act now. So the best thing you might want to do is, why not start your chain today? We just started spring, right? Spring just happened. This is the time to spring forward. If you're ready to make a change, because he said act today, 80% who don't take action today, you're not going to take action tomorrow either. And you're not going to take action the next day. So I recommend, let's just get off this call and reach out. I'll post a flyer for you just in case. Or do I even have a flyer for this Thursday's event, Jake? I can't remember if I turned it in.
Yeah.
Okay. Jake, can you post that flyer?
Yeah.
Jake will post that. If you send it to me, I haven't put the events for the week. I just flew in last night. I'm a little off kilter. But you're welcome to invite people to that event if you want to reach out to 2 people and just let them know, hey, it's spring. I know a lot of people are looking to shed some bad habits and get into some good habits. Do you want to join me and some friends about talking how we can have our best spring and just, move into summer? It can be something as simple as that. I think they're really going to have a good time on the call on Thursday night. So, all righty. Okay.
Sounds good.
You guys are so quiet today. I get the head. I just like a bunch of bobbing heads.
Go lace up your shoes and go do one thing.
That's right. Okay, go do your
I
one.
am.
Win today. Win today. All right.
See everyone.
Well, Thursday. Take care.
Yay.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Have a great
Thank you.